Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where we have already blasted past 2,000 interviews with industry experts that are demystifying complex technologies and increasing understanding and adoption of new solutions along the way. That's the mission that I am on, and today I'm on another mission. I'm on a mission to blow your mind with a conversation about why you need to start taking Web3 seriously. And let's face it, it's probably time you changed your browser instead of complaining that your existing one is sluggish and slowing down your machine, and replacing it with something for the future rather than something built for the Web 2 days. And also understand more about Polygon Layer 2 integration, and in particular with the Opera crypto browser, which is on mobile and desktop, and what that could mean for you. But we have so much to get through in a short amount of time, so enough of me rambling on. Buckle up and hold on tight, because using technical wizardry, I'm going to beam your ears to Crete, New York, and the UK at exactly the same time. So you can join me, Susie Batt, Crypto Ecosystem Lead at Opera.com, and Brian Trunzo, Metaverse Lead at Polygon Studios. Massive warm welcome to both of you. But Brian, can you begin by just telling the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Brian Trunzo, Metaverse Lead over at Polygon Studios. Polygon Studios being the advisory arm to Polygon for blockchain-based games, open decentralized metaverse, NFTs more generally, pretty much anything that's culturally adjacent. So working with Web3 endemics, those building decentralized applications on Polygon, and large IP holders through sport, fashion, media, entertainment, and the list goes on and on, showing them the ropes and connecting them to the ecosystem partners who can help them scale and build beautiful decentralized applications.
Fantastic. And Susie, a big thank you for you joining me on today's call too. Can you equally just remind the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hi, everyone. And hi, Brian. Hi, Neil. I'm Susie Batt, and I lead crypto ecosystems at Opera Browser. And coming from an Ethereum blockchain background at Consensus back in 2017, and left to join Opera to integrate all things blockchain and pivot into Web3.
Fantastic. And on this Daily Tech podcast, one of the missions that I'm on is to try and demystify complex technologies. So to set the scene today, Brian, can you offer an overview of exactly what Polygon Studios is and the problems you're solving and the journey that you're on?
Yes, certainly. We're an onboarding engine, a customer success team, and a marketing service for those who are building these culturally important and relevant decentralized applications that leverage the power of NFTs on the Polygon blockchain. One of the gifts is also the curse of open, decentralized, permissionless protocol, and that's by nature of being permissionless. It can be a confusing place for some. You show up, you dig through the GitHub, you think you know what you're doing, and before you know it, you don't know what you're doing. So we like to imagine ourselves as the guys on the inside, your security blanket, the folks that you can call for assistance in navigating our ecosystem, leveraging our incredible community of developers, partners, and those who follow us along our social media, and play composability quarterback, if you will, connecting all the component parts that are moving around and really helping to paint that picture that is the ecosystem of the Polygon blockchain.
Fantastic. And Susie, I'm quite excited to get you on here because my son Louis is a huge fan of the Opera browser, and even convinced his entire team at work to use it, and even did a presentation talking about, well, I think the big things he loves is that you can limit RAM, limit CPU, limit bandwidth, etc. But Susie, for people that are hearing about Opera for the first time and they've got so many different browsers on their machine, can you offer an introduction for anyone unfamiliar with it?
Sure. Well, hey, hooray for Louis. Is he a big gamer? Does he love the GX browser that's got the anger management function, or what?
Yes, he's a big gamer, so he loves Opera GX, and he's also a creative. We're working in the Adobe suite a lot, so bandwidth and CPU and RAM and all those things are quite important to him.
Yeah, well, Opera is a browser that launched back in the mid 90s, and it is the first to integrate a native crypto wallet, which happened back in 2018. You might remember it was also the first to integrate to be embedded in the mobile phone back in, the late 90s with Ericsson and Nokia, based in Norway, just by sheer proximity and like-minded, that integration was just as flowy as we have today, the crypto browser and all of our multi-chains within the browser representing different tokens across the board. But, in early 2022, this year, we released a blockchain-centric browser known as the Opera Crypto Browser, which is the bright blue O rather than the red O that you can find in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. And it has built-in support, as I said, for numerous blockchain cryptocurrencies across Web3 space. It also has built-in IPFS integration and, ENS, Handshake, YAT, which is emoji-based naming, domain, human readable domains. And really, we'd like to be thought of as a Web3 hub, like a window to the decentralized web. And, everybody knows how to browse. And so it's an easy entry point for all things crypto is by virtue of the browser.
It's incredibly cool what you're doing here. I'm curious, is there a story behind including that crypto feature? Was it just that direction and wanting to be a part of the Web3 future that everyone's building, or is there something else?
Well, I have to acknowledge the initial, PM of this project, which is Charles Hemmel. He is now head of product at Ledger. And back in 2018, he saw all of these browsers kind of popping up with this really efficient, not very robust browser feature. And he thought, gosh, with all the technology and resources that Opera has, let's use Opera's intel and bandwidth, no pun intended, to move forward into the blockchain space by integrating a native crypto wallet, which hadn't existed.
And if we were to take a look under the hood at everything here, Brian, can you tell me more about this Polygon Layer 2 integration with the Opera crypto browser, especially I think it's on mobile, desktop, etc. But can you tell me more about that and ultimately what it means for users?
Yeah, so Polygon has positioned itself unabashedly in the market as the premier scaling solution for the Ethereum virtual machine, that's to say the Ethereum blockchain. And through our suite of layer 2 products, we've positioned ourselves as sort of the Amazon Web Services of Web3, whereby we have a modular approach for devs who are looking to speed up their transaction throughput while also being more ESG minded. That's to say, we are 99.9% more energy efficient than the proof of work Ethereum mainnet blockchain, and also have a relative low cost in transaction speeds. All of this we call layer 2. So your podcast listeners may be familiar with that term or not. So as a layer 2 blockchain, having an integration, a crypto native browser that has Web3 tools embedded within it to promote and allow for seamless transactions onto layer 2, which has been a friction point from a UI UX perspective of allowing users to move funds from layer 1 to layer 2 and seamlessly bridge across the decentralized application ecosystem that lives in both the Ethereum mainnet and Polygon. That has been key to our as a network, as a protocol, but also key for the user experience on any crypto native platform, in this instance, the Opera browser. So not to speak on behalf of Opera, but from my perspective, from my perspective, it's a UI UX thing to give the users what they want. They want faster transactions on a different network. They want to be able to bridge across Ethereum and Polygon. They want to use multiple RPCs and networks. So I don't know, was that a good way of summarizing your side of the story here?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? It's like mutual love. Integration with Polygon is a key strategy in Opera's mission to onboard millions of normies to Web3, and doing so in an environmentally conscious way, because Polygon has a fast, scalable, ultra low, fee environment that makes it the most popular Ethereum scaling solution. So we love you guys, and we love all the dapps on Polygon, which includes, beloved Uniswap, 1-inch, pull together. I mean, those are like just my favorites that I'm naming, but like just houses so much more gaming and NFT dapps than any other chains outside of Ethereum. And that includes Decentraland and Sandbox and Aavegotchi and so forth. Did I just like do your job, Brian?
I think we just had like a role reversal. It's like the movie Face Off, but with Web3 version and non-violent.
Oh man, we've suddenly entered Bizarro world. I don't know what's going to happen.
We rendered you obsolete, Neil.
It was only a matter of time anyway. But you mentioned integration there, and I think you integrate with Bitcoin, Solana, Polygon, BNB chain, and so many others. Can you expand a little on that integration?
Yeah, so multiple blockchains, notably layer 2s, is key strategy. We're chain agnostic, so you can use multiple chains and multiple wallets to enter into this ownership economy. And between Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, BNB, users have multiple ways to access the most popular dapps.
And the Web3 industry seems to be picking up pace so quickly at the moment. And I'm curious, from Opera's side of things, how do you see yourselves growing and evolving with this Web3 industry?
Well, the very nature of blockchain is, decentralized and no one point of authority. And so we are also emulating those characteristics by not being married to one way or one chain or one token, and kind of seeing how, our product is adapting as we see users use different protocols and different chains. So we're growing in ways that kind of surprise us too. Our products are hugely popular in sub-Saharan Africa, where mobile first are most relevant, and where very low throughput is necessary because there isn't access to lots of bandwidth where you can move huge bits of data through. It's smaller packs of data in light kind of cellular networks. And so we have altered, products depending on different markets. And also on-ramping is different because of regulations in different countries around the world. If you just look at, the United States, there are different regulations for each state. So imagine that around the world where you've got so many different countries with different regulations. So, we've been doing this for 25 years. We're in the browsing business and we know it well. So we can adapt and provide partners like Polygon easy access to all of, our 380 million users around the world because we just know those markets and we've been there for a long time.
And Brian, one of the biggest criticisms of crypto, of course, is the environmental impacts. And you kind of alluded this to 5-10 minutes ago. But can you tell me a little bit more about how Polygon is actually pioneering the shift towards this greener blockchain industry?
So I guess you start here having a quick conversation, not going too deep in the weeds of proof of work consensus versus proof of stake consensus. And that's to say how to get consensus on a blockchain, whether it's done through hash power by burning electricity, which is proof of work, solving mathematically complex computation to prove that you did the work to secure the chain, to propose a block in the blockchain, or proof of stake, which is a more simple mechanism whereby you stake the native currency of the blockchain and for doing that, you get the right to be able to propose a block to the blockchain and help secure the network. So proof of stake is the consensus mechanism for Polygon. And as a result of being proof of stake, one is not required to do these computationally intense puzzles to earn the right to propose a block to the blockchain and secure the network. So the math on that is that we end up being 99.9, and I think there's another 9 nines after that 9% more energy efficient than a proof of work blockchain.
Incredibly cool. And Susie, I've been reading about Opera has a planned addition of a built-in VPN function only for crypto connections. Can you expand on that? Again, sounds incredibly cool.
Yeah, well, safety and privacy are a known priority at Opera. And it makes no difference if you're using Opera GX or Opera Mini or Opera Crypto browser. The free version of the VPN is one of, offers complete privacy, no data tracking, no logins, no subscription. The paid VPN extends protection to traffic across the entire user device as opposed to just the browser. And then the Pro VPN is powered by, I think it's like 3,000 servers in 30 different countries. And one subscription protects up to like 16 Android devices. So, people are constantly talking about hacks and, bridging issue, hacks and bridges and different chains. But one of the simplest things that normies should be doing right now is just having a VPN on your phone and on your desktops at all times.
Fantastic advice. Completely agree with you on that one. And Brian, it's impossible to have a blockchain or crypto conversation without mentioning crypto winter at the moment. So I've got to ask, how is the market downturn impacting you guys at Polygon? And are you still building, hiring, etc.?
Yeah, we have a saying at Polygon, the bear is with builders. And of course, we spell builder like flipping the D and the L like
Biddlers.
Yeah, the biddlers, the bear is with biddlers. And that's just shorthand for saying during a market downturn, a lot of the noise is removed from the system. The wheat separates from the chaff. Insert your favorite colloquialism here to describe the fact set that people have their head down and they're building right now. And from previous bear markets, what has emerged has been DeFi, NFTs, the open decentralized metaverse, the first instances of decentralized metaverses. So with that, we have our head down, we're building. We had strategically raised a very large 9-figure sum back in February of last year. Our investors are long-term investors who understood that the investment was to give us the runway that we need to achieve the vision that we set forth, which is to scale and speed up the Ethereum blockchain and the Ethereum ecosystem to onboard the next 100 million and eventually billion users into Web3 and blockchain. So pretty much, nothing has changed on the inside of Polygon. We're still hiring strategically. We're still looking to fill some empty positions to grow and scale into the ecosystem that we're trying to develop for our decentralized applications, large IP holders, and biddlers.
Well, as I said at the very beginning of the conversation, the aim of the show is to try and demystify complex technologies and give people an overview to Polygon and Opera and introduce more people and increase adoption, etc. But I say that, I suspect we will have loyal members of both your communities that have tuned in just waiting for a little snippet or insight. So you're probably locked down to NDAs and you're not going to be able to leave me with too much, but are there any teasers that you can leave us with on the focus for this year or what your users can expect on that road to Web3? And Brian, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, so nothing that's under NDA or confidential. I'll talk about some of the public information that we've released that has been incredibly warmly received by the technical audience to which we speak, but may be lost among certain non-technical or normie type people out there. And that's to say our SuperNet product, which is our Ethereum native Internet of Blockchains. It's this idea that one can spin up his or her own blockchain, have it be as permissioned or permissionless as he or she would like for it to be, to inherit the security and decentralization of our existing validator set and not have to pay for that security on his or her own. Along with that is our ZK roadmap. Last year, we had bought over $1 billion worth of ZK technology. So really deploying that starting in 9 short days, going to testnet with Hermes, one of our first ZK products, and moving into Q4 of this year and Q1 of next year, deploying those production grade ready for mainnet release. Data availability, another issue that we're solving with Polygon Avail. And then finally, Polygon ID, using that ZK technology to provide for private and secure decentralized identity solutions at the wallet level. So as you can see, we have a laundry list of incredible products that we're going to market with. And part of our brand marketing strategy and product marketing strategy is to go to market in a way where folks start to realize that Polygon should be synonymous with scaling and usability, as opposed to simply the proof of stake sidechain or commit chain that we're most known for, or almost entirely known for in more normie circles, to use Susie's word again.
I love that. Thank you, Brian. And Susie, what can Opera users expect on the road to Web3 in the immediate future?
Well, I want to go just broadly for a moment, just
Yeah.
real quick on a macro level. There are, I'm sure you guys have seen the crypto Twitter where, Web 1 was all about read and Web 2 was read and write, and Web 3 is read, write, and own. And I think in that vein, we are also Opera allowing users we're moving in the direction to allow users to own bits of their data and sign into our web browser using human readable addresses, not just the public keys that are very esoteric and jumbled letters and numbers. And these social graphs in particular allow you to slice data and reveal different bits of information about you without exposing things that you don't want people to know. So you've got a different, profile for those who are friends and those versus those who you might work with or your family. So, you'll also be seeing Opera move into the social graphing area through IPFS and ENS and YATS and Handshake and, which we're already doing, but you'll also see Ts being viewable on all networks in your browser. So because normies might not be so aware of what network they're using, we're thinking, toggling between either Ethereum or Polygon, and you're freaking out because you don't see your NFTs in there. Well, you'll see all of your NFTs in those networks in your Opera wallet without having to know what network you're on. So it's stuff like that I think we're really focused on UI and UX, which is what Polygon's so good at. That's why we're such an easy partnership, because it's this usability that has been lacking for quite a few years within Web3.
Well, I cannot thank you both enough for coming on here and investing a little time in demystifying some of these technologies and making it more approachable for people that might be intimidated by that. And this is the part of the show now, though, where I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you. And I always ask the guests to leave everyone listening with a personal note of inspiration. And the question I'm going to ask you is there a book that has inspired you that we can add to our Amazon wish list, or a song that you just love, gets your head in the zone or means something to you?
Cool.
We'll add that to our Spotify playlist. So the pressure's going to be on here, but I'm going to throw it to you first, Susie. What would you choose and why?
Well, I have to admit that I listen to you, and I know that you asked this question, and I listened to your Spotify list, and I love it. You don't have my favorite song, which is by The Killers. It's Mr. Brightside. So please add that to your list.
I will add that to my list straight away. I can't believe it's not on there. Everyone just loses their mind. I can't believe it's not on there.
I know. It's such a great song. My favorite book, as opposed to one that I'm reading now, I'm reading Actionable Gamification by Yu-Kai Chu, which is a really cool book on, just how you gamify and how you inadvertently don't realize you're being gamed beyond badges. But my favorite book in the world is really Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace. And, it's just thinking, she teaches like a version of how powerful we can be when we think big about our spirit and beyond our anatomical kind of design. So I really hope that some listeners pick that book up, because it's something that I reread probably once or twice a year.
Wow, that sounds incredibly cool. Well, I'll add both books to the Amazon wish list, and the song Consider It Done, that's on the Spotify playlist. And Brian, that's a tough act to follow, but what are you going with?
Oh yeah, you leave me in a lurch here. But you did give me a second to look at my bookshelf and get a little bit inspired. I'm going to start off the bookshelf, though. Matthew Ball, the metaverse thinker and theorist who formerly is of Amazon Studios and is famous for his framework for the open decentralized metaverse. One, I think that framework, that series of essays is a must read for anyone who's interested in the application of NFTs and the development of an open decentralized metaverse. And with that, he actually has a book that's coming out. So I have mine on Amazon pre-order. I think it's coming sometime relatively soon. I think this month. It's called The Metaverse and How It Will Revolutionize Everything. Looking at my bookshelf, Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 1,000 Faces is definitely something that has inspired me many times over. I think it's applicable to this conversation because when thinking about the open decentralized metaverse, I, for one, am fascinated with the Creative Commons license. That's to say, being a piece of IP and giving it to the community for ownership and not retaining the IP with the creator. And I think The Hero with 1,000 Faces does a really great job of kind of subtly leaning into that concept by highlighting the fact that the greatest stories ever told, which are folklore, right? These stories that have existed for thousands of years in some instances, from Jesus to Muhammad to Zeus to all of the Roman and Greek gods to, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round. These are these stories that have lasted thousands of years and have been told time and time again by different communities and different people with different spins. They're the most powerful stories ever told. And I think we're going to see an explosion of stories being told through the Creative Commons license and derivatives there through the open decentralized metaverse. So definitely would recommend that book and anything that leans into those ideas.
Wow, absolutely love that. I'll get that. It is incredibly cool. I've got to make sure that's on the Amazon wish list too. And of course, although this is a tech podcast, one thing that I've picked up today in our conversation, I think a word that the three of us have used repeatedly is the word community. So for anybody listening that wants to dig a little bit deeper, find out more information or join your community, what's the best starting point for everything? And Brian, if you could share anything around Polygon first.
Yeah, so I would say the Polygon Discord is a fantastic place to start. Also, the Discord is run by the Polygon DAO, so anything DAO related. And you can follow us on our social handles at 0x Polygon and also Polygon Studios. Follow the trail of breadcrumbs there to kind of get to the Discord and get to the community pages.
Awesome. And Susie, where would you like to point everyone listening to?
Well, I have to shill the Opera Discord, of course, Opera Crypto Discord, of course. And then I would also add one of my favorite Telegram channels is the Daily Bear. It's the Daily Ape, but right now it's the Daily Bear, obviously. But I really love it. It just synthesizes tweets and some major announcements and unfortunately like hacks. But it comes out a couple times a day and I love it.
Awesome. I'll add those links to the show notes so people can find that nice and easy. So much I love chatting with you both about today, but one of the things that I've enjoyed more than anything is how you're both doing great things in building and paving the way to Web3. But more than anything, it's what you're doing together and how you're working together and how you're working together with your communities to get there. That's the inspirational takeaway for me. But a big thank you to you both.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Happy summer.
Happy summer indeed.
But over to you. If you've got any comments about Web3, today's conversation, where we're heading, what excites you, what doesn't, you can either send me a message on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter at Neil C. Hughes, or send me an email, techblogwriter@outlook.com. And on any of those platforms, there's an audio message button now. Hold down the audio and send me a message or send me a question that we can feature on a future episode and we'll address that there. And equally, if you'd sooner come on the podcast and have a chat one-on-one with me, we can do that too. There's an open door policy here. So keep those messages coming in. But today was obviously all about Web3. But what topic can we explore tomorrow? Well, it's time for me to spin the wheel, which will determine a completely different topic that we'll discuss on the podcast first thing tomorrow morning. But to find out where that wheel stops, well, you're going to have to join me again tomorrow. Sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger, but I hope you enjoyed the show. Please join me again tomorrow. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.